Between about 1450 and 1750, the world map was just completely redrawn. Huge, powerful land-based empires popped up, conquering massive territories and millions of people. And the engine behind this incredible change? Well, it was a single, explosive technology that completely rewrote the rules of war. We are, of course, talking about gunpowder.
And that really brings us to the big question here. How did this one thing, this invention that came out of China, become the key that unlocked this unbelievable imperial expansion and gave states all across the globe a level of control they'd only dreamed of before?
Well, the answer is what historians now call the Gunpowder Empires. And look, these weren't just your average kingdoms. We're talking about massive, incredibly diverse states that were built on a totally revolutionary idea: using firearms not just to win on the battlefield, but to tighten their grip on power at home like never before.
All right, so let's start our journey in the West. This is where a Europe that was still recovering and a really ambitious Russia were some of the first to truly grab hold of this new power. And the results? They would absolutely change the world.
So over in Europe, as they're climbing out from the shadow of the Black Plague, new royal families like the Tudors in England had one main goal: centralize everything. And they created this amazing feedback loop. If they controlled taxes, they could pay for professional armies with all the latest gunpowder weapons, and those armies, in turn, let them project power across the globe to fund massive exploration and colonization. It just fed itself.
And then you have Russia's incredible pivot to the east. Under Ivan IV, you probably know him as Ivan the Terrible, the state just went all in on gunpowder. He used it to smash the last remnants of the Mongol Golden Horde and kicked off this relentless push eastward, even hiring these fierce warriors called Cossacks to lead the way.
Just look at this timeline. It shows you how unbelievably fast this all happened. In the 1550s, Ivan starts his push. By 1639, that's less than 100 years later, boom, they've reached the Pacific Ocean. This crazy fast expansion, driven by the hunt for valuable furs and made possible by firearms, eventually took them clear across the Bering Strait and right into North America.
Okay, so while Europe is looking out, let's pivot and see what's happening in the East. Because China, the very place that invented gunpowder, was using it for something a little different, to both expand their empire and lock it down like a fortress.
So under the super powerful Qing dynasty, China was basically playing offense and defense at the same time. You had emperors like Kung Shi pushing the borders out into Central Asia, but they were also pouring money and resources into defense, rebuilding the Great Wall to keep out any threats from the north.
And you have to know about this guy, Emperor Qianlong. He was the perfect example of this duality. On one hand, a man of incredible culture, a poet, an artist, but on the other, an absolutely formidable military commander. He actually personally led armies deep into Central Asia, conquering places like Nepal and massively expanding China's sphere of influence.
And all that power? Well, it created this powerful sense of self-sufficiency, maybe even overconfidence. When the British came asking for more trading rights, Qianlong's response was famously blunt. This quote just says it all, doesn't it? It perfectly sums up how China saw itself as the center of the universe. A powerful mindset for sure, but also a dangerously isolated one that would cause big problems later on.
All right, now we're heading right into the heart of the action, the Eurasian landmass. This is where three absolute titans, three colossal Islamic empires, rose from the ashes of past conquests, each building their power on two things: faith and gunpowder.
So, what was fueling this incredible expansion? It was this powerful concept called the Ghazi ideal. And this was more than just a military strategy. It was an entire ideology that mixed the fierce, independent spirit of a nomad warrior with the religious mission of a holy fighter for Islam. It was an incredibly potent combination.
So here's a quick rundown of the big three. You've got the Ottomans, led by Mehmed II, who pulled off the impossible and conquered Constantinople. Then there are the Safavids, started by the charismatic Shah Ismail, who brought all of Persia under his rule. And finally, the Mughals, with Akbar the Great building one of the wealthiest and most dazzling empires the world had ever seen in India.
But of those three, you have to hand it to the Ottomans. They were the undisputed heavyweights. I mean, it's almost hard to wrap your head around their stability. A single family, one dynasty, ruled this enormous, powerful empire for over 6 centuries. 600 years. That's just a testament to their incredible military and political skill.
And the secret to their success was that they became absolute masters of this new technology. To crack the legendary walls of Constantinople, walls that everyone thought were unbreakable, Mehmed the Conqueror rolled out gigantic cannons. Some of them were reportedly up to 26 feet long. Can you imagine? It was a brutal, shocking demonstration of what gunpowder could do, and it literally changed history overnight.
Okay, so we've seen these different regions all use the exact same technology to build these incredible empires. But, and this is a big but, their stories don't all end the same way. This last chapter is really a story of a great split, a divergence that for some led to decline.
Which brings us to the central puzzle of this whole story. If they all built their power on the exact same military tech, why did the paths of the Islamic empires and the Western powers eventually split so drastically? Why did some keep getting stronger while others just fell behind?
And really, it all boils down to one simple, crucial word: adaptation. On one side, you had powers like Russia that were constantly looking at European armies, copying their innovations, and always modernizing. But on the other side, the great Islamic empires, maybe they got a little too comfortable. They grew stagnant. They didn't invest in the constant, rapid evolution of military tech and tactics that was happening in the West.
And that failure to keep up militarily, it wasn't just about losing battles. It hit them right where it hurts, in the economy. They just couldn't compete in a new world that was suddenly dominated by sea power and global trade routes controlled by European navies. All of a sudden, their massive land-based power, the very thing that made them dominant for centuries, just wasn't enough anymore.
And all of this leaves us with one final thought to chew on. The story of the Gunpowder Empires is a really powerful lesson about how a single shift in technology can completely redefine who holds power in the world. It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? What is the game-changing technology of our time? What is the gunpowder of the 21st century?